What I wanted to talk to you a little bit about today was Network Labs, and who we are is we are an early stage for-profit startup company that is dealing in the remote laboratories space. Remote laboratories technology, as you can read in the NMC Horizon Report 2013 K-12 edition, is not a new technology. It was developed at MIT in the early aughts. However, for the most part, it's been applied only to university settings. And what inspired our team was if we could take that same technology and apply it to lessening the resource burden for high school students. For the most part, because the science laboratories are a big resource drain for high schools, constraints of time and budget. On average right now in the US, students spend about 50 minutes of time in the laboratory each week. That's not time to experiment, that's laboratory time. So setup, cleanup, safety instruction, all of that included in that 50 minutes. Doesn't leave a lot of time for personalized individual exploration of some of these systems. Also costs, big factor. It's expensive to do science laboratories, consumables, laboratory safety, equipment, construction or renovation of lab space, especially with all the changing technology that's out there right now. It's an expensive proposition for about 36,000 institutions. That's a lot of science laboratories. So the domestic market size for us is around 13 million students. We divide that up into 7 million high school students that are eligible to take chemistry and physics each year, along with about 6 million community college students that are eligible to take biology, chemistry, or physics at those institutions. What we know about the high school students is we know that about 90% of them before they graduate are going to take a biology class, 2/3 are going to take chemistry, and 1/3 are going to take physics. That's a lot of people at a lot of schools doing a lot of science. So what can we do to alleviate that resource burden without sacrificing learning objectives? So the product that we are proposing to produce is called Live Laboratory. And Live Laboratory is essentially what it sounds like. It is on-demand access to real scientific hardware. Not only access to, but control over real scientific hardware via the internet. So students can log on and control their own science experiments. Where we are in this process is right now we are seeking $500,000 in seed capital, as well as partnerships with digital content and digital textbook providers so that we can accomplish two goals. The first of which is to build out the central facility. You can think of it as the terracotta army of science laboratories. So it's really a large facility that houses multiple stations of various science experiments that support high school or first entry courses into physics, biology, and chemistry. The second part that we want to use this money to accomplish is that we want to be able to build out and develop an interface, an intuitive interface that will allow students to easily access the central facility. So for those of you who aren't familiar with remote laboratories, how do they work? They're actually kind of simple. Students and teachers, who I'm told have better haircuts and real faces, actually log on through any mobile device, through their smartphone. They will be able to log on through their smartphone or their tablet and access the central, our user interface, where they're connected to their user accounts and data. They program their experiments, and that information is sent over through the internet to the experiment itself. The automated experiment runs the experimental trials and sends the data back to the students and educators for analysis. And now to do this, you need a variety of expertise. It's not just a software play, there's a fair amount of hardware involved. And I'm fortunate enough to have two incredible co-founders. The first is Andrew Watchorn, who's our hardware expert. Andrew has been traveling the country helping universities automate their laboratories. And he's also done extensive work with the MIT iLabs project, helping universities in Uganda and Nigeria overcome different resource challenges and bringing their laboratories online. The second is HP Catalyst Leadership Award winner recipient, Dr. Kemi Jona from Northwestern University. And Kemi's sort of been at the forefront of the cheerleader, so to speak, for remote laboratory use in high schools. And so what I wanted to show you a little bit of today, unfortunately my videos won't play. I'm being punished for being a PC user, so apologies. However, I can at least show you what the interface looks like that Kemi designed for the pilot program. This is a radioactivity lab, and the hardware is actually in Queensland, Australia. There's a little live webcam of the hardware up there. And for the interface, there are sort of two guiding principles for us. The first is individual control. And what you can see is that we have on the, let's see, that would be the left side of the screen there, that the students can control the experimental parameters. They can essentially play with, as much as they want, different experimental parameters. They can run it as many times as they want to. But the key point of that is they are in control. The other part of it is the lab journal, and this we envision as something that will be teacher-controlled. So we will provide a set of standard research questions that relate to a given course. But we want to give the teachers the flexibility to change that to meet their individual needs. And also, it's worth mentioning again, it is on-demand access, 24/7 mobile with unlimited repetition. The other guiding principle for us is intuitive use. We want this to be able to integrate into any curriculum. We really want to see it as a simple tool. You can use it in face-to-face, blended, online only. Minimal training. We did a pilot program. We were actually fortunate enough to be a member of Startup Chile also last year. We did a pilot program in Chile, which was kind of interesting because we scheduled 4 hours for teacher training, and it only took an hour and a half. We had a long lunch. Also what we're building into this, a series of monitoring and assessment tools. And what you're seeing there on the screen left again is a set of analysis tools that students can use to look at their data, at their experimental results, which they can then plug into a PDF along with their lab journal and just email it off to the teacher. This was going to be a really cool video of the webcam, the live webcam right here. And this is one of the coolest things that I think about coolest things that I think we have in this interface. And that really is that the students can get real-time video. If they stay logged on to the system while their experiment is running, they'll be able to watch it live. If not, then the video will be available to them when they log back on to get the results. So it's really cool. And my favorite part about it is this little clock here that tells you what time it is in Queensland, Australia. And it's been used in Australia. It's been used in Australia, and we've actually got over 5,000 users, which I know doesn't sound like a lot in a day and age when we're measuring metrics in 7 digits. But what's really inspiring to us is that it's piqued the curiosity of people in over 30 countries. That tells us that there really is some traction to this idea. The other thing that's worth mentioning here is that while we see the way people are interacting with it, is we found with that radioactivity lab that I showed you that people have uploaded different content for it. So you could apply that radioactivity lab. Currently, if you go to the ilabcentral.org website, you can apply that lab, has supporting material for chemistry, biology, physics, and mathematics. So one experiment can serve a lot of different disciplines, and that's a very interesting idea. So 2 research papers have come out about using our pilot program, have come out this year. And they have some pretty great results. They basically validate some of our assumptions that the flexible access of the remote labs is engaging and helps improve learning outcomes, which is great. The thing I want to point to really quickly on this slide is just that the at-home users were 3 times more likely to run the lab more times than required by their assignment, and that providing access at home resulted in better experimental design. There is some neurological evidence to back this up about how teenagers especially tend to not really undervalue risk, but they tend to overvalue social reward. And that's kind of an interesting thing. So when you give them access to something at home that maybe they're not doing in front of their friends, you might get better results. It gives them a moment to kind of calm down and focus on inquiry and on being curious. That's kind of interesting. The other research paper that came out compared remote laboratories to simulations. A lot of talk about simulations. And what they found was that 72% of people preferred the remote laboratory over the identical simulation. But the most important thing for us down here really is that the remote lab users retained learning better at a 1-week follow-up than the simulation users, and that's really sort of the most important thing. So it really seems like to create better access and broader access, you don't have to simulate the laboratory. You can just sort of flip it. And when you do, you get more time on task, and you create more value for the money that you're spending. And more importantly, you bring access to every student in every district in every country to high-quality, real science experiments. So that's what we're doing, and if you want, please check us out here and drop me an email. Thank you so much for your time.